But I think they are very direct kind of leader. They express their thinking without too much formality. India will be one of the most interesting pilot project to increase the number of legal migrants to Italy. It will be very important in coming years.
Ambassador De Luca has been here for last 4 years, 4.5 years. In fact, he came to India in December 2019, just before the COVID pandemic struck. In fact, unknown to us, the virus was already around back then, and his time in India has been really very transformational in terms of the relationship between India and Italy, but also the way the global events played out, from the COVID-19 pandemic to the Russia-Ukraine war to the Israel-Hamas conflict that's on right now, and also the change in governments that Italy saw in these 4 years. First of all, since we are talking a few days after the elections and the cabinet has just been sworn in, I wanted to get a sense from you. How do you read this verdict that the elections threw up, and what does it mean for the India-Italy relationship?
Indian Express is my first newspaper when I start reading the newspapers in the morning, especially the op-ed page and also the cultural page. So congratulations for your work. It's really a newspaper that gives a contribution to the democratic debate in India, I have seen also during this election. My first comment on the election is congratulations to India, to the Indian people, congratulations to Prime Minister Modi for his historical third mandate, congratulations also to the opposition, dynamic also in India, congratulations to the Indian democracy in a word. And every time India is called to give an example of democratic life, India is always there, and also this time even more. So very good. This is good also for the relation between Italy and India. Will be a continuity. Also, our Prime Minister in the last election got an important result yesterday. So there will be stability, I think, in the two countries that will allow us, especially on the Italian front, because the issue of coalition and instability is more on the Italian side in the past. Now there is more stability. There have been already 4 meetings, included the one planned this week between Prime Minister Meloni and Prime Minister Modi. First one was in Bali, second one was March bilateral summit here in Delhi, third one was a side meeting at the G20 in September, and now a side meeting with the G7 in Italy this week.
Right. So I'll just take you back to December 2019 when you came here. The relationship was not in the best of its health, so what was the brief and what was your thinking at that point of time, that because of the shadow of the Italian Marines case as well as the Augusta Westland corruption allegations had really they had made the relationship difficult for politically to go ahead? What was your brief? What did you think at that point of time?
I have to say that when I arrived here, there was already an important work to finalize the agreement on the marine issue and also on the Westland Finmeccanica. And my predecessor worked a lot on this. In this days, our Minister of Foreign Affairs in Rome, Minister of External Affairs in Delhi. So there was already a preparation. The finalization was after the decision of the tribunal and the exchange of note verbal. On that occasion, we finally solved the disputed issue. And also the same was for the defense sector, where we arrived at an agreement with the Indian government, and after that we had all the opportunity to elevate the relation to a strategic partnership, because strategic partnership, what does it mean? It means working more focus on the most sensitive sectors, like defense, like cyber security, and also, last but not least, mobility. mobility will be one of the main challenges in the coming years. And I think this is really a strategic agreement, both for India but also for Italy, because our government last year announced a plan of 500,000 more legal migrants in Italy. Now, with India is the first agreement signed by our governments to increase mobility in legal channels. So, with the agreement of the two governments. So, it's a strategic importance for Italian economy because we need more workers, also from India, but it's also important for India because this offers job opportunities for many workers here in India. Not only in the agro-industry business, but also in health sector. We need more nurses in Italy, and in perspective also in manufacturing, because we need also blue collar in our plants in Italy. On the other side, I hope that now also with the opening of the university for exchange, we can have more students from Italy to India, more young managers coming here, because mobility is a two-way street. It's not only from India to Italy, but also from Italy to India. I hope that we could have also more talents from India to Italy. We have dramatically increased the number of students at the Italian University, Politecnico Milano, Politecnico Torino, Design, Fashion, Marangoni, Bologna, Rome. So we have several channels that are very applicable for Indian good students. So we have increased the number. Now we are around 15,000 students from India to Italy, but I think this number will increase more and more in the coming years. And also the number of the workers, migrants from India to Italy will increase in the coming 3-4 years. Now we host one of the highest Indian community in European Union. 210,000 Indians live in Italy and works regularly in Italy, mainly from Punjab, but also from Kerala, from Delhi, from other states. And we'll have more and more Indians also from other parts of India. Last year we delivered something like 20,000 new job permit and stay in Italy. This year I think we will overcome 30,000. So there will be an increase year by year. Also thanks to this new framework, new agreement between Italy and India, we will have the first bilateral working group at the end of June in Italy this month.
You know, it's interesting you talk about mobility because, you know, when the government under Prime Minister Meloni came to power, there was a fear that immigration would be a challenge, because it's a right-wing government. So how did the needle move towards a more progressive immigration policy of the Meloni government?
I have to say the present Italian government focused more and more after the start of this mandate fighting against illegal migration. That is also a challenge, and this is a challenge of the European Union, not only of Italy. That was the stress made by our government, but also increase the number of legal migrants, because also this government has realized for our economy in a society in demographic decline is fundamental to have the right number of workers, otherwise we will have also a decline in GDP, in growth, and in wellness of Italian people. So this is the policy of our government, and certainly India will be one of the most interesting pilot projects to increase the number of legal migrants to Italy. It will be very important in coming years.
Now I want to take you to, you know, one of the global issues, and when you talk about defense cooperation, security cooperation, trust has to be very high, and you know, Italy was, after it signed off with the BRI, there was sort of element of non-trust with partners who have possibly signed off with the BRI. Now in last year we saw Italy coming out of that particular logic. How did that change, and has that had an impact with Italy's relationship with India?
Well, of course, we are developing a relation with China as other European partners. The idea to withdraw from BRI was also based on the outcome of that agreement for Italy was not really a change. So we, at the same time, we relaunched with China an advanced partnership, as Germany, France, and other countries. But the idea, this is very important, to join the occasion of G20, another initiative that will diversify the corridors between East and West, this IMEC corridor, is very important, because this gives India and Italy further opportunities of collaboration. It is very much in line with the framework of the IMEC, that is the digital connectivity Blue Rama, the cable that will link Italy, Middle East, France, Italy, Middle East, and India. The cable is already financed, is already largely implemented, will become operational first half of next year, 2025. So it will be maybe the first project you can consider in IMEC corridor.
So you've seen them in 3 meetings, at least. A couple of them you've witnessed them interact, and the 4th one is going to happen later this week. Firstly, on the chemistry level, what is the rapport that the two leaders share?
But I think they are very direct kind of leader. They express their thinking without too much formality, and this helped also in this approach. And also they share some vision about the relationship between tradition and the present politics. They give importance to the cultural diversity, identity, and also to the relationship between Europe and India in the global scene in favor of a more effective multilateral. There are several factors why they found very easy to establish a good personal relationship.
Right.
What we all saw about Italy kind of cancelling the only European country which is a part of the BRI, Italy pulling out of that. And where exactly does Italy stand? Just give us a big picture of the view from Rome about China and the threats and the opportunities that China poses in the New World Order, or to the New World Order.
But I think the position of Italy is also the position of European Union. I don't see major differences of the position expressed in Brussels, in Berlin, in Paris, in Italy now are really aligned. Maybe in the past there were some differences. But I see that with China, Europe has a challenge of engage China in global issues, because you cannot negotiate anything on climate change, on global health without China. Certainly we have to discuss with China to rebalance the economic multilateral relation. That means not very much decoupling with China, but a sort of level playing field in terms of opportunities of access to market, and this is an issue already discussed. And also, of course, Europe consider that there are some differences in terms of value, in terms of principle. These are the position of Europe, Italy, France, and Germany with China. So not consider China an enemy and stop, but consider China a partner and also a rival on some principles. That was well expressed, a player, a partner, and the formula that was launched by, I think, Borrell or somebody in Brussels. I think this is the idea for all the European countries now vis-à-vis China. Also, the decision to not remain in BRI was also considering the level of relation of the other parties. We want to be more or less aligned in advanced partnership, but not being in agreement that was not really of impact for Italian companies and Italian economy at the end of some years of implementation.
You think it is playing a constructive role, say in the war in Ukraine? If I
for the time being, we would expect more pressure from China to Russia, but we understand that there are different interests at stake, and we hope that they can exercise an important role to stop the war and facilitate an agreement.
You think Europe has to really step up the game, or because there will be a more right-wing sort of administration there, you think Meloni has a better chance of a good rapport with Trump?
I think in any case we have to take into account the national interests and European interests. The national European interests, I think, will coincide in having more capacity as Europe, despite who is president of the United States, because of course we need more capacity, and to have an Europe that maybe will be less on micromanagement of single specific issue and regulation, but more able to play a role as a political and economic actor. Not only economic actor, certainly is, because we are the number one trade bloc in the world. We have to transform this capacity also in a political presence in the main scenario and also in the multilateral system. Composition of the new political leadership of Europe. Of course, with the United States, with Trump or with Biden, relations remain fundamental because we are allies, partner of NATO, and so on. There will be more or less engagement of US in certain. We will see, because when was last Trump presidency, there were not conflict in the world like Ukraine and Gaza. Now we'll see also which will be. It's not now the time to figure out which could be the relation between US and Europe, considering the present scenario and the existing conflict. Depends also on the reaction of US. But certainly Europe and the United States will remain strongly allied, and also Italy is always very close ally of the United States. But we are part of European Union, certainly. This will not change.
That brings us to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for this very insightful and learning experience, and we hope more of Italian fashion and food and your culture comes, we are able to interact and enjoy sitting in the heat of Delhi.